There is a pipe under your yard right now that could cut your heating bill by 60%. You did not install it, your builder never mentioned it. Your HVAC contractor has never brought it up. It costs less than 1 month of the heating bills it would replace. It has no moving parts, it needs no maintenance. Its design life is over 50 years. It has been proven across thousands of buildings on 3 continents for more than 30 years. The reason you have never heard of it is not complicated. A pipe that drops heating load by 60% drops HVAC revenue by 60%. A system that needs no maintenance generates no service contracts. A family that heats its home with a buried tube and a ventilation fan cannot be sold a furnace replacement that costs $6,000 every 15 years. The pipe exists. The physics is settled. The data goes back decades. The only thing missing is the person who was supposed to tell you about it. This is the story of the Earth Tube, the technology that has been conditioning buildings since before electricity existed, and the industry that spent 30 years keeping it out of every American building code. Welcome to Buried Build Files. Before we open this archive, if these forgotten techniques matter to you, the best way to preserve this knowledge is simple. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share these archives with those who need to remember what we forgot. The archive opens in the hills of southern Tunisia in a town called Matmata. The first thing you notice when you arrive is that you cannot see where anyone lives. 2,000 people live here. They have been living here, according to researchers from the University of Sfax, for roughly 3,000 years. Their homes are not on the surface. They are carved into the soft rock of the plateau, central pits 20 to 30 feet deep, open to the sky, with rooms cut horizontally into the walls at different levels, connected by tunnels. You descend a stone ramp into a courtyard that exists entirely below grade. Everything around you is rock. The surface temperature in Matmata swings from below freezing in winter to over 110 degrees in summer. Inside those dwellings, measured by researchers across multiple annual cycles, the temperature holds between 65 and 68 degrees all year, with no heating, no cooling, no energy input of any kind. Some of these structures are over 1,000 years old and still occupied. This is not an archaeological site, it is a functioning community. What the builders of Matmata understood 3,000 years ago and solved with a shovel is the same thing your heating contractor charges you $1,100 a year to ignore. The ground beneath your feet holds a temperature that your HVAC system spends a fortune trying to create. 5,000 miles east, in the Yazd basin of central Iran, Persian engineers were solving the same problem with a different tool. They built qanats, hand-dug underground water channels running up to 100 feet below the surface and tens of miles in length, delivering cold mountain groundwater to desert cities through gravity alone. Iran still has an estimated 37,000 kilometers of active qanat galleries, some over 1,000 years old, still carrying water. But the qanat did more than move water. The engineers noticed that the air around the deep shafts was dramatically cooler than anything on the surface. They started routing building ventilation through those underground channels before it entered the living spaces. A wind catcher tower on the roof pulled hot surface air downward through the structure, across the qanat-cooled tunnels and into the inhabited rooms. Physicists at Oxford, who studied surviving examples, measured the result. Indoor temperatures 25 to 30 degrees below the outside air, with no electricity, no refrigerant, and nothing moving but air. 2 civilizations, 2 different methods, the same finding. The Earth is a thermal battery, a physical fact with a specific number attached to it, and the gap between what it holds and what you pay to create costs the average American household over $1,100 every year. 6 feet below your yard, in most of North America, the ground temperature barely moves. The soil sits at the mean annual temperature of whatever climate is above it, within 2 or 3 degrees, 12 months a year. In Boston, the ground at 10 feet holds between 50 and 53 degrees Fahrenheit, whether the surface air is minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit in January or 95 degrees Fahrenheit in July. In Chicago, the ground is roughly 52 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, while the surface swings from minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. In Dallas, the ground is roughly 65 degrees Fahrenheit, while the surface swings from 20 degrees Fahrenheit to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. In Seattle, the ground is roughly 54 degrees Fahrenheit, while the surface swings from 25 degrees Fahrenheit to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. That gap between what the ground holds and what your furnace is fighting to overcome is the same every winter. It is also the gap your air conditioner fights every summer. It sits 6 feet under your yard, available, free, and completely untapped. An earth tube captures it with the simplest possible engineering. You bury a standard corrugated drainage pipe 4 to 8 inches in diameter, sold at any building supply store 6 to 10 feet below grade. It runs 50 to 200 feet under your yard before it enters the house. One end connects to a screened exterior air intake above grade. The other connects to your existing ventilation system. In winter, outside air at 15 degrees Fahrenheit enters the intake and travels through 150 feet of pipe surrounded by soil at 52 degrees Fahrenheit. By the time it reaches the house, that air is 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Your furnace lifts incoming air 20 degrees Fahrenheit instead of 53 degrees Fahrenheit. That is about 60% less heating load before it fires once. In summer, the reverse happens. 95 degrees Fahrenheit air enters the pipe and exits between 65 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. 25 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit of free pre-cooling, no compressor, no refrigerant, just a ventilation fan moving air through a buried pipe. Studies from Darmstadt, Athens, and Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory consistently find the same range, 30 to 60% less energy used for heating and cooling. The numbers hold across climates, across decades, across 3 continents of documented installations. The most honest evidence does not come from a laboratory. Coober Pedy is a mining town in the South Australian outback, 500 miles north of Adelaide. Surface temperatures range from below freezing in winter to 122 degrees Fahrenheit in summer. About 60% of the town's 3,500 residents live underground, not in shelters, in full homes carved into the soft sandstone hills. Kitchens, bedrooms, tiled bathrooms, all cut from rock that holds 72 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. There is an underground church, an underground hotel, an underground art gallery. Australia's National Science Agency has published formal reports on these homes as a model for passive climate adaptation. The community has been living this way for over 60 years, proving the same physics every day. 72 degrees. The ground does all the work. In 1991, a physicist named Wolfgang Feist stood in a half-finished building in Darmstadt, Germany, with a single pipe running from the yard into the basement. His colleagues told him it would not work. That building has now been monitored for over 30 years, 90% less heating energy. The pipe has never been touched. Feist founded the Passive House Institute in 1996. Today, more than 65,000 certified passive house buildings use variations of the same principle. In Denmark, Switzerland, and Germany, earth tubes have been in official building energy guidelines since the 1990s. The European ventilation standard includes specific provisions for pipe sizing, burial depth, and drainage slope. Over there, this is not a workaround. It is standard practice. So why has no building code in America ever mentioned it? The global heating, ventilation, and air conditioning industry runs $240 billion a year. Every dollar of it depends on mechanical systems running continuously inside buildings. Equipment sales, maintenance contracts, energy bills. All 3 revenue streams require your furnace and your air conditioner to be doing the work. A buried pipe that cuts that work by 30 to 60% is not something anyone in that industry has a financial reason to sell you, so nobody does. Not because anyone banned it, because the system that governs American construction was shaped by people whose income depends on the alternative. The International Residential Code and the International Mechanical Code, the 2 documents that control what goes into residential buildings across most of the United States, are updated every 3 years by committees of mechanical engineers, heating contractors, equipment manufacturers, and building industry representatives. Earth tubes have never appeared in the prescriptive compliance sections of either code. A builder who wants to include one must apply under a provision called Alternate Means and Methods, engineering documentation, plan review fees between $2,000 and $6,000, inspections by officials who may have never seen the technology. In most jurisdictions, the paperwork costs more than the pipe. The contractor side works the same way. No standard licensing category covers earth tube installation. No insurance policy covers it. And once a pipe is in the ground with a drainage slope, there is no service contract to sell because there is nothing to service. A heating contractor who recommends an earth tube is recommending himself out of 30 to 60% of his future revenue from that property. The appraisal system finishes the job. When you sell your home, an appraiser calculates value from comparable sales. No transaction has ever established a market premium for a buried pipe that saves $800 a year. A homeowner who spends $4,000 on a system that pays for itself 5 times over cannot recover a cent at resale because the market has no way to see it. No conspiracy, no ban. A code that never included it, contractors who lose money if they recommend it, and an appraisal system that cannot count it. Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory put it plainly in their study on earth tube adoption in the United States. The barriers are not technical and not economic. They are structural. The code pathway does not exist. One concern comes up immediately from anyone who hears about this for the first time. Condensation. Warm, humid summer air passing through cool pipes will drop moisture. This is real, and it is managed the same way your air conditioner handles it, with a slight slope toward a condensate drain. European installations running since the 1990s show no moisture problems when the slope is right. The pipe has no moving parts. It will still be conditioning your air when the furnace it assists has been replaced twice. Across homesteading communities and owner-builder networks, people have been installing earth tubes for years without waiting for a code to permit them and documenting the results publicly. The process is straightforward. You rent a trencher for a day or two. Dig a trench 6 to 10 feet deep across your yard. Lay 100 to 200 feet of standard corrugated drainage pipe, the same pipe at any building supply store, under $2 a foot. One end gets a screened air intake above grade. The other connects to your existing ductwork with a standard fitting. Slope the pipe toward a condensate drain. Backfill the trench. Total materials and equipment rental, $800 to $2,500. Maintenance required over the next 50 years, none. The performance these builders report matches the academic data: warmer incoming air in winter, cooler air in summer, and a furnace that runs far less. Not reduced. Measurably less, season after season. In 44 American states, the owner-builder exemption allows individuals to build their own primary residence without a contractor's license or a code inspection, provided they personally occupy it. Earth tube installations completed under this exemption are not tracked. Nobody in the industry has a reason to count what they cannot sell. Stand inside a passive house in Darmstadt in January. The outdoor temperature is 18 degrees. The sky is flat gray the way German winter mornings are, light, but nothing that resembles warmth. You walk through the entry. The air changes. Not the temperature yet, the quality of the air itself. Still, dense. Carrying a faint mineral coolness your body registers before your mind gets to it. The south wall is glass. Pale winter sun lies in rectangles across the stone floor. You move deeper. You pull off your coat. 68 degrees. It has been 68 degrees, within 3 degrees either way, for 4 months. There is a thermostat, but it has not been touched since October. In the utility room, there is a small mechanical ventilation unit. It draws outside air, passes it through 120 feet of pipe buried 8 feet below the lawn, and delivers it to the living space at 52 degrees instead of 18 degrees. A heat recovery ventilator takes it the rest of the way. The furnace behind it is sized for 10% of the load a conventional house of the same size would need. On the coldest days, it fires for maybe 40 minutes. The rest of the time, the pipe does it. Outside 18 degrees, inside 68 degrees. That 50-degree gap is maintained right now by a buried drainage pipe and the earth temperature 6 feet below the frost line. The earth is doing the heavy lifting. The pipe cost $1,200. The trench took 2 days. The earth has been holding 52 degrees under that lawn since long before the house was built. The physics was always there. The only question was whether anyone would tell you. We did not miss the earth tube. We were never offered it. A $240 billion industry does not offer products that cut 60% of its revenue. A code council funded by equipment manufacturers does not write standards that make equipment unnecessary. A contractor licensing system built around mechanical installation does not create a category for a pipe that goes in once and needs nothing after. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as the people who built it intended. The knowledge was not lost. It was in Germany's building code in 1990. It was in the Department of Energy's research files. It was in peer-reviewed literature, replicated and confirmed for 30 years. It just never made it into the document that tells your builder what to put in your house. The physics has not changed. 6 feet below your yard, the ground is holding 52 degrees right now. It will hold 52 degrees next January, and the January after that, and every January for the rest of your life. Every home you have ever lived in was designed to need something you have to buy. That is not an accident. It is a business model. But the archive is open now. The knowledge is here. 100 feet of drainage pipe. A rented trencher, 1 weekend. That is all it takes to cut your heating bill by 60%. Forever. If this archive opens something for you, subscribe to Buried Build Files and hit the bell. Every like and every share keeps alive what they tried to erase. The next archive opens soon.